Welcome to the second to last video in my best of skincare for 2025. This category is on moisturizers. As with the other videos, I've sort of split this up into a few different categories. So I've got my best daily moisturizer, got a quick collection of some of my long-standing favorites. Then there's a category for sort of best sensitive skin creams, related to inflammation and redness. I have a couple of options for true barrier repair. I've got one choice as like a rich cream, and then I'll finish the video with a little bit of a rant on texture and what moisturization actually means to me. Before I get into the video, I think it's also important just to relay that one of my main skincare philosophies is something that I think Lab Muffin has articulated really well. She has a blog post and it's titled Skin Hydration versus Moisture, There Is No Difference. And basically this talks about how within the skincare industry, a lot of people talk about hydration and moisture as two different things, but really we use a moisturizer to hydrate the skin. So effectively they mean the same thing. Like a lot of this confusion comes from the fact that dry skin needs oil and dehydrated skin needs water. But that still doesn't mean that a moisturizer isn't hydrating. So yeah, and that's where my whole skincare philosophy really comes from. And also why I think there are a lot of moisturizers out there that might feel thick and heavy, but actually don't moisturize that well. Conversely, there are many lighter textured creams that moisturize better than you'd expect. So keep all that in mind, because what I've got listed here, I would consider to be true moisturizers. They may not be the best option if you have truly like Sahara dry skin, but I think they represent a really well-rounded approach. So starting off with the best daily moisturizer, and it would not be a favorites video of mine if I didn't talk about bee cream. So I talk about this product endlessly to the point where I'm sure many of you are tired of it, but I also have to convey things honestly. I don't want to say things just for the sake of it. I've gone through so many of these jars. I truly think it's the best moisturizer I've ever used and it suits my skin perfectly. And I guess to elaborate on that, I have oily leaning skin. It's relatively balanced these days because of tretinoin and lotion P50, but as I was alluding to at the start of the video, I think bee cream is a great example of a moisturizer that's properly balanced. So there is a good mixture of like humectants, emollients and occlusives, and it actually therefore functions the way that a true moisturizer should. I'm pretty sure bee cream is the only one that I've actually repurchased that's on this list, and multiple times. So I've been using it, I think maybe since the end of 2021. And I genuinely believe that if Build were a French pharmacy brand, or maybe a brand that had like a dermatologist working for them or like advertising for them, it would probably be the most popular moisturizer on social media. I consider it to be like the anchor of my routine, the backbone. I am able to use everything else because I can trust and rely on bee cream. And a lot of this is just because it's built on the basics. It has squalane and petrolatum and glycerin. It's like a classic moisturizer, but for some reason we're sort of lacking those these days, where brands tend to be focused on overstuffing products and maybe forgetting the core functionality. And of course, we're in a crowded market that is run by a lot of conglomerates. It's hard for small indie brands like Build, which is a Canadian brand, actually based in Ottawa. So I continue to waffle on about it because it's first of all just a really, really good product. And also I love to see small brands actually designing products intentionally without relying on social media buzzwords as their kind of driving factor. This series was also part of an Instagram post, so on there I actually have up like a written description of bee cream in more marketing language, so I'm going to throw that on screen in case that sort of conveys what I'm trying to say in a way that maybe reads like other brands would sell it. So yeah, that's bee cream. I don't know if I've said anything new or interesting in this section because it's just become, part of the family at this point. And I guess that's all there is to say about it. Next, I'll run through a handful of long-standing favorites, so I won't go into long descriptions. These are just products that I've also been using quite a lot over the last couple years. They lean a little bit richer in texture, so I would consider these more of a night cream for me, but I'll just quickly mention them because otherwise this list would be too repetitive and I want to feature some new products as well. And of course, one of my long-standing fave night creams is Instant Angel. This texture is kind of in the lane of bee cream. It's just a little bit more oil rich, so I get a little bit too shiny using it during the day, but it works well at night. And actually one of my favorite combos, especially when I'm using a retinoid, is to use Instant Angel and then a thin layer of Build Bee Balm on top. This is sort of like a slugging ointment or a gelled squalane oil. That's a match made in heaven. In terms of two moisturizers that I would consider to be quite buttery and very nourishing, but they're not that oily, is Dr. Sam Bunting's Flawless Moisturizer Intense, just a super well-designed product, and another one I love to use at night. And very similarly is the Jordan Samuel Moisture Recovery Cream. So these are both great moisturizers that I absolutely love. And lastly is just one of my favorite sort of drugstore pharmacy products, and it's the Embryolisse Cream. You know, this is a cult favorite. I can definitely see why. It sort of has a very classic formula to it, but again, as I was alluding to at the start of the video, it's the type of product that's not overly heavy, but I think actually moisturizes better than you'd think. Next up are two moisturizers in my best for sensitive skin category. So this would be for like anti-redness, for increased tolerance, for reactive skin, all of those like inflammatory issues. And the first one I'll mention is the Bioderma AR Plus cream. This I think only launched in Australia relatively recently. I'm actually almost done with this tube. But I think the AR Plus sort of technology that they've started to introduce in this range is super effective for redness. This is not really oily. It's like genuinely creamy feeling with a very natural skin finish. If anything, it leans a little bit more matte than it does dewy. I've long considered Bioderma one of like the true experts in terms of anti-redness care. It seems to be like a topic that they care a lot about. But they've launched this sort of AR Plus range with an updated version of their anti-redness technology. I think they call it Reactive 2.0. And this also still has some of their classic complexes in there. One that helps with skin's like overall tolerance threshold. So you've got this more supercharged version of an anti-redness complex alongside the kind of supportive part of the moisturizer as well, just to help with long-term resilience. So yeah, I just think they've done such a good job with this product design, and it's for sure become one of my favorites when my skin is feeling a little bit more inflamed. And kind of in a similar vein is a surprisingly really good release from Sisley, which is their sensitive skin soothing care. Now this is a luxury product with luxury pricings, but if you do watch my channel, I'm sure you've noticed I like to throw in a few luxury products here and there because I like to explore products from all ranges without judgment. And one of the special features of this formula, which is kind of unusual, is that they've actually sterilized it. Although I think preservatives are entirely necessary for a general skincare product, if you have super reactive skin, sometimes that can be a trigger, especially if the balance or the percentage hasn't been sort of considered as well. So by omitting some of these things that are potential triggers, you're for sure reducing the chance of reactivity. And that can be especially important like post-procedure, or if your skin is like really in SOS territory. The texture here is also really nice. It's sort of fluffy and marshmallowy and almost whipped in a way. It's another one though that's not very oily. It definitely leans more buttery in its texture. The finish is also very natural and matte-like. And with both of these products, it again reconfirms what I was saying at the start, is that you don't need a super oily or glossy finish to achieve measurable hydration. And really the whole purpose of this product is to limit inflammatory reactions from chemical, physical, or lifestyle factors. Next up is sort of my barrier repair category, which I think sometimes gets lumped in with sort of anti-redness, but I sort of think of them as two different things, because if your barrier is not functioning well enough, then absolutely that can lead to redness and inflammation. But sometimes you can also have an impaired barrier that's maybe not so related to reactive skin, and it could just present in ongoing dehydration or dryness. So that's why I've sort of split them, because those two products I've just mentioned are more so on like the redness inflammation side. These next two are more for global barrier repair. And these next two products are also maybe another example of how skincare marketing can get confusing, because nearly every brand in the world talks about barrier repair. I'm not so convinced that they actually help with barrier repair, because again, they're leaning a lot into lipids and things which might help with sort of solving temporary dryness and emollients and skin softening, which gives like the illusion of a repaired barrier. True barrier repair comes from overall skin support that's targeting dehydration and dryness at the same time, and really assisting the natural skin functions to work better. So with that said, the first barrier repair product that I have is from First Aid Beauty, and this is their Ultra Repair Rescue Barrier Balm, which is actually a 1% dimethicone and actually an OTC skin protectant product. Whenever I talk about this, I always like to qualify, because it's not what you'd expect. The texture is quite pasty, it's quite dry, it's not overly emollient feeling or glossy at all, but I think it truly and properly supports skin mechanisms in terms of enhancing its own repair potential. So if you're somebody that does crave like a lot of oil and slip, then maybe don't use this. So I don't think it's going to give you that instant satisfaction. If you let it do its thing overnight, I think it'll actually help your skin function better naturally. The next product is the No. 4 balm from Rationale. well. And a lot of the same things that I said about the First Aid Beauty apply here, because this is essentially a silicone balm. Also quite dry feeling. I would say the texture here is not quite as pasty as First Aid Beauty. It's sort of more smooth. And I don't know if you can see in there, but it's like a true balm, but very dry feeling. And this really showcases all of the protective benefits of dimethicone, which I think is a really underrated ingredient, especially when intentionally used to protect the skin properly. I use the balm more situationally. It is definitely in my SOS kit. So when my skin is like feeling really wrecked, I'll often just use like a pump or two of bee gel and then just go straight in with the Rational balm on top. And that level of like hydration and actual true barrier repair support is just exactly what my skin needs sometimes. So yeah, the moral of the story here is that I really believe in dimethicone and its ability to truly protect the skin. And the very last category is sort of best rich cream. And I did want to include something that is a little bit more rich in texture, a little bit more glossy on the skin, not quite as dry or like invisible as the others I've mentioned. And that goes to a fairly new brand called Reframe Beauty in this beautiful jar, which is purple with sort of this translucent pink, coral color around it. And the actual product itself is really nice to see and interact with as well. It smells a little bit like lavender, but not too strong. Now, this product I would describe as richer. It's not especially oily or like greasy feeling, but more so than all the others on the list. The brand actually calls this an overnight collagen seal, and I think that's a perfect description. This product also doesn't like dissipate entirely. It does kind of remain on the skin surface a little bit and absorbs quite slowly. You might notice throughout this list that I probably gravitate towards slightly more simplified formulations when I'm using a moisturizer. For actives, I would probably load them into more serums and essences, whereas moisturizer as a bookend, I don't really want to introduce too much stuff. But every once in a while, a more actives-packed moisturizer will come along. That sort of piques my interest, especially when the inky list and the formulation is a little bit more unique sounding. And I think Reframe have done a good job of sort of introducing or blending a bunch of things that I really don't see around that much. And this cream is all about easing skin stress. So there is a little bit of like an anti-redness sort of rejuvenating property to it, but it's also sort of targeting the signaling factors like improving collagen and elastin production. There are a bunch of extracts in here, which I'll throw up a few of the key headline ones on screen, which I really hadn't heard about very much, so I might need to do a little bit more of a deep dive into Reframe. But yes, I just wanted to bring this up and maybe put it on your radar. I think for now they're only shipping to the US, unfortunately, and they very kindly sent to me for review, but I hope to see them expand globally soon, because just the packaging design, the textures that they're doing are that little bit twisted, which I really enjoy. Twisted in a good way, of course. And now just to finish off this video, and as I've been describing throughout this whole chat, is around texture and the illusion of sort of thicker, oilier creams. Everyone is going to have their own preference towards richness, and that's, I guess, not really what this is about. What I'm trying to convey is that texture in itself is a marketing tool like a lot of other things. So when brands go in and design a product, or at least kind of a trend that I've been noticing over the last few years, is I think a lot of them are loading or overloading the products with oils. So you'll see many oils at the top of an inky list, and that's nice in the sense that it gives the skin a lot of slip and it makes the skin feel like glossy and soft and smooth and conditioned and all the words. But oils I don't actually think achieve very much in the long term, so they are kind of like a short-term solution that can ease discomfort temporarily. But I think a really good moisturizer should look beyond that, and the oil should be balanced within an occlusive and humectant blend, because we want to target all facets of skin moisturization, which is not just about imparting oil or lipids. Now, as I also said at the start of the video, if you have super dry skin, you will probably crave that oily sensation a little bit more, because it does give you that immediate comfort. But I think, and from what I've discussed with people just in my DMs, there are a lot of rich creams out there. You buy them, you expect them to work really well, they feel amazing on the skin, but ultimately a few hours later your skin still feels quite parched, and that's because maybe it's not balanced or blended that well, and maybe the product has been designed more for the initial feeling rather than actually helping your skin to achieve success long term. That also means that lighter textures sometimes actually moisturize better than heavier textures. And I think part of what goes wrong in like the skincare community is that a lot of people assess their skincare concerns as being related to dry skin, but maybe dehydration is an underlying factor that's not being addressed properly. So by using a moisturizer, regardless of the texture, as long as it's claiming to be highly moisturizing, you might find that the relief is a little bit more sustained and long term. This whole explanation is sort of just to convey that if you've ever been let down by a product, it could be just because the balance is not quite right, and maybe the formulation ethos was a little bit more short-sighted. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. I do have one last category to share with you, which is going to be body products and eye creams and sort of miscellaneous category. I was hoping to wrap this video before January 1st, but I'm running late. So I think you're probably watching this maybe on like the first Saturday in January, thereabouts. So I'm wishing you a very happy new year, even though it's technically not 2026 when I'm filming this. Thank you so much for watching my channel, interacting with me in the comments. I know there are so many skincare people online now that it's sort of like a forest or a zoo in a way of like content creators. So I don't take it for granted that you're choosing to watch my videos, and I appreciate it. And I hope you have a really lovely year and that we can grow the community here as well. So yeah, if I didn't already say it, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, which will be the last video in this best of 2025.